In this session, we will take a deeper dive on a new module that we created and included to our reporting dashboard, which is the Insights section of our reporting. In this Insights section, you are able to access two different layers of advanced analytics. All these reports are based off of your point of sale reported data. In the first section, we are looking at a more granular approach to the employee performance. So once you access this area of the employee insights, you will be able to take a deeper look into different reports that really highlight opportunities for improvement and opportunities for training with specific employees. To the right side, you will be able to actually select the different areas within your organization. So in this case, we have multiple bars. And for the purpose of this presentation, we will select only the first floor bar. You will be able to select the time frame of the data that you would like to analyze, different work time or the day of the week. In this case, we're looking only at the weekend, given that weekends perhaps are busier, and we would like to analyze the performance in that time of the week. You are also able to select specific meal periods, looking at morning time only, afternoons, or night. We're looking at the lunch shift in this particular case. And in the lower part, you will be able to select the employees that you're looking to compare against one another and see their performances. Okay, so let's get started. In the first chart, we are calculating the employee ROI. And as you can see here, using this diagram, you can identify which of your employees are bringing in most of the dollars per hour that they worked, and which ones are bringing in less compared to average and compared to your top performance. So the way we are calculating this is not in correlation to the hours that are being reported on the clock in terms of the times that they are actually punching in and out for work, but really we are looking at the times that your employee had the opportunity to sell and they actually started to record sales on the point of sale until the last ticket was recorded on the point of sale. So really just the effective time that a sale was actually being processed and they were servicing customers. Very important difference, as your employees may be actually performing other tasks as they prepare for the service, and they may be also accomplishing other tasks as they actually stop servicing the customers and are wrapping up the work area. So in this case, we can see that you got some really good performers at the top and some underperforming employees at the bottom. We would certainly want to focus on the employees at the top and understand what the reasons are that they are actually performing so much better. In this case, we have this employee, Luis, that generates in average about $51 per hour. And at the top, at the bottom, we have Katya, Giel, and Giovanni that are eventually generating about half as much. And certainly there is an opportunity to understand how Giovanni, for instance, can perform much more in line with, with Luis and bring in more dollars to the table in average. To also understand precisely what contributed to a well overperforming or underperforming employee, you will be able to access every single one of their checks and the sales that they processed. And equally, as you exit that detail view, the system will highlight this employee. And the reason for that highlight is to actually allow you to really get a much more granular look from different points of view on what actually makes Luis, in this case, stand out amongst his peers. Moving on to the next chart, we are calculating the average individual check total. And what this actually represents is the amount per customer. the amount of dollars that is basically being collected per guest. In this case, we see that Katya is at the top with $12 per guest spent, and Giovanni at the very bottom with about $8.83 per guest, and Luis somewhere in the middle around the average. Okay, so this also tells us that potentially Katya is actually selling pretty well. However, the frequency of her sales is potentially not, she's not servicing enough customers as maybe Luis does. Moving on to the next chart, you will be able to actually have a look at how many rounds were served per table or per group of people if this was the bar environment. This is actually very interesting as you will be able to understand how proactive your employees actually selling and how frequent they're actually recommending a second round or a third round of products, of drinks, or eventually of food. And in this case, we can see again that Katya at the very top, she's doing pretty well. She sells in order about 1.6 rounds per table or per dining experience from start to finish. And Giovanni again at the very bottom at around 1.2, the average being 1.4. So we would definitely want to understand how Giovanni can improve his skill in recommending an additional round to his customers. In correlation with that, we can also see that in this diagram, we can really see how many times per hour your employee actually took orders from the table or eventually visited that table or visited that customer. In this case, it is very important to actually have this insight simply because in many instances, our industry is about understanding the guest needs and proactively suggesting additional product or additional drinks, additional food without the customer having to ask for them. So we can see here that Katya, for instance, is more frequently visiting her tables, in average about 2.5 times per hour. And Luis, again, that was actually bringing in the most revenue per hour, as we could see in the first chart. Luis is visiting his tables about 1.9 times per hour. This actually is also well understood that Luis is actually visiting his tables less on an hourly basis, but he's actually selling more per hour. So if we go back to the top, as we could see earlier, Luis, he's generating about $51 per hour by actually visiting his tables less than Katya, for instance. And Katya being at the very bottom of this chart actually tells us that although she is visiting her tables very frequently, she is actually not effectively perhaps using that opportunity to really sell the right products or sell more expensive items or whatever that item may be that you'd like your employee to be recommending to your customers. So this is a very good example of the effectiveness of your employee. Equally, in the very last chart here, we can take a very good look at what kind of drinks the employees are actually recommending and the frequency of them. So if we look in this case at Luis, we can see that Luis rarely is selling actually non-alcoholic drinks, wine glasses, and wine bottles. However, he is more frequently selling champagne glasses, which may also be, well, the reason why his revenue per hour is a lot higher than other people, other employees. And we can certainly see that Katya is actually very rarely selling beer, wine glasses, and then sometimes actually selling non-alcoholic. However, the more high-ticket items, she's not really selling at all. Wine bottles, liquor glasses, champagne glasses. So this really just gives us an opportunity to see, are the employees actually comfortable suggesting all kinds of different products? Are they maybe not as aware, and maybe they need more training in understanding how to sell a wine bottle to their customers or how to recommend a champagne glass to their customers Whereas other employees like Leandro, it appears that he has a very good knowledge of all the products, and he may also well introduce them to his customers.